What do Hearthstone, Rust, and Dark Souls 2 have in common? Pause the video if you need to think about it. But the answer is that all three of these games are 10 years old. In some of my past few videos, I've been looking at games on the 3DS and the Wii U, and it made me realize just how many of these games are around the big 1-0 mark. I think Mario Kart 8 especially makes me feel really old because thanks to the Booster Course Pass DLC that only just recently ended back in February 2024, that game still feels new and fresh in my mind. But seeing how Mario Kart 8 has evolved over the years made me think about how much gaming as a whole has changed over the past 10 years. One of the ways that I think a lot of people would say that gaming has changed is the prevalence of live service games. Games that aren't so much finished products as they are experiences that are constantly changing, with new material released over time, with some content being locked behind exclusive timed events that take advantage of FOMO, the fear of missing out. Games aren't so much a good or a product that you buy once and forget about, but rather they're, a service that you pay for constantly over time. Now, to be fair, this trend has been a thing for quite some time before 2014. Even back in the 2000s, games had DLC expansions that added new stuff for you to play around with, keeping the games relevant way past their initial release dates. MMOs have had subscription plans that you had to constantly pay for in order to even play the game. Heck, Capcom were way ahead of the curve when they were pumping out new Street Fighter 2 versions faster than Scott Cawthon was dropping Five Nights at Freddy's games. However, this idea of constantly updating games has become far more prevalent in recent years with stuff like battle passes, microtransactions, and limited time events. Fortnite Battle Royale really helped popularize this style of game, and speaking of Fortnite, the Battle Royale genre is the second trend that we've seen explode in the past 10 years. I believe the craze started with PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and then Fortnite kinda went with the idea and took it to the next level, which is insane because the Battle Royale mode of Fortnite was originally just a side thing. The real game was like this base building survival game. But since these games blew up, this genre has become one of the biggest categories in recent years. Most of the popular Battle Royale games are shooters, but we have seen some experimentation with the genre, with stuff like Super Mario 35, a platformer Battle Royale, and Tetris 99, a puzzle game Battle Royale. I've played my fair share of these Battle Royale games. I think the one I put the most time into was probably Call of Duty Warzone, and I think they're definitely fun if you play these games as a team with some friends, but I'm not a big fan of playing solo. You can die at any time in these games, and while that does sound dangerous and exciting, it actually kinda sucks. Because if you die, then you have to wait for a new match to start. Considering these Battle Royale games have a really high number of players in each match, these wait times can potentially be several minutes. Speaking of waiting, it seems like the days of waiting in line for new video games are just about over. With tons of people having access to high-speed internet, downloading games digitally has become the standard way to buy games now. I remember back in 2013 when there was a ton of backlash over Microsoft's plan to restrict the use of used games on their upcoming console, the Xbox One. But nowadays, with digital being the way that everyone gets games, a policy like that today wouldn't be anything newsworthy. PlayStation and Xbox have even begun selling all digital consoles without a disc drive. Physical games will always have a place with the retro market, but for new games, I don't know, I could honestly see in the next 10 years physical games being phased out. By the time we get the PlayStation 7 and the Xbox whatever, the premium versions of those consoles could lack a disc drive altogether, and we'd truly be in an all-digital era. Speaking of digital game subscription services where you pay a recurring fee to get access to a large library of games have become all the rage now. Microsoft's Game Pass, PlayStation's PS Plus, Nintendo's Switch Online, EA's EA Play, Ubisoft's Uplay Plus, they're everywhere. These sorts of services vary widely in how appealing they are. I personally like Game Pass. I think there's a good variety of stuff there. I think Switch Online was pretty bad at first, but the library of classic games has gotten a lot larger over the years, although you will have to get the expansion pass to get the most out of it. Uplay, I have absolutely no desire to get. You really have to take these things on a case-by-case basis. As I've said before, for me, I would love to have physical copies of everything if I had the space for it. I enjoy having something I can hold in my hand way more than just a file on a computer. However, I do think subscription services have a place. Having a cheap way to play a lot of different games is quite nice, especially if the service has day one releases. And hey, if you do end up really liking something that you've played, you can always buy the game outright later when it's most likely had a price drop or it's chance at the point when it's constantly going for a cheap price on sale. But hey, that's just my opinion as a random person on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, I've noticed that game companies have become very tapped in with content creators on platforms like YouTube and Twitch. These creators often get copies of games early or even early builds and demos of games to help promote these titles. It's now become standard for consoles to come with screenshot and video buttons to share in-game moments online. There are even some built-in editors to alter these pictures and videos. Some games have even included features to help people who upload videos online, like the ability to turn off copyrighted music in-game to prevent those videos from being demonetized. And continuing with the topic of demonetization, games have even begun to include features to blur potentially explicit content like violence and nudity. These features have definitely helped YouTubers and streamers. Speaking of streaming a game to a separate device has started to become more prevalent as well. Some streaming services simply let you run games stored on one device you own while you play the game and watch the video feed from another device, which is generally referred to as remote streaming. There are other services that let you do the same thing, except instead of running a game on a system that you own, you can use another computer provided by someone else. This is generally referred to as cloud gaming. I honestly don't have too much experience with too many cloud gaming services. The experience that I did have with PlayStation Now was okay. I feel like for cloud gaming to work, you need really good internet, and the service itself has to have good streaming capabilities as well. I do think it's really interesting tech, and I'm curious to see if we'll ever reach a point where cloud gaming is really reliable for a lot of people. It'd be really cool to play the latest games on really high graphics without even needing a powerful PC setup. We've seen a few companies experiment with cloud gaming. There was the Google Stadia service, which was discontinued last year. There are a few games on the Nintendo Switch, like Kingdom Hearts 3, that don't have a normal version of the game, but instead have a cloud version of the game. And of course, there's Nvidia's GeForce Now service, which I've heard good things about. Hopefully, in the future, more and more companies will hop into the space, and the growing pains with cloud gaming, like lower visual quality, wait times, and lag, are fixed. Something that they have fixed in recent years of gaming is multiplayer, and that is by popularizing crossplay. Nowadays, it's considered the standard for multi-platform games with multiplayer to allow you to play online with people who don't have the same console as you. Not being able to play online with your buddies even though you all had the same game just because you had the game on different boxes was really stupid, and I'm glad that that has started to become a thing of the past. Gaming has really changed over the past decade. Lately, I've been doing a few videos about games from the early 2010s, which feels so long ago but still modern at the same time. Let me know in the comments if you all can think of any other ways that gaming has changed or evolved since 2014. There are definitely at least a few popular occurrences and trends that I forgot to mention or I just may not have known about. But anyways, thanks for watching y'all, and have a great rest of your day.